Peace to you in the mighty and the awesome name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Hallelujah. This is part 3 of the series on the sins of the northern kingdom of Israel. The royal decrees of Jeroboam to erase the knowledge of the Most High from the northern kingdom of Israel brought great apostasy on the nation of Israel. So apart from the sins that the northern kingdom of Israel committed, which I discussed in part 2, they also committed the following sins. Firstly, sexual immorality. The young women of Israel became harlots, and the men of Israel went apart with harlots, and they offered sacrifices with ritual harlots. Also, they began to practice sexual perversity of an abominable nature, in that both the father and the son would have sexual intercourse with the same woman. You can read about that in Hosea chapter 4, verse 13, and Amos chapter 2, verse 7. Secondly, there was bureaucratic corruption, or very high level of corruption in their government. That's Micah chapter 3, verse 9. The corrupt subordinates were not reprimanded. That's Hosea 7, verse 3. And the political leaders were corrupt and rebellious. That's Hosea 9, verse 15. What is happening is really a reflection of what our ancestors did back in Samaria. The corruption, the level of corruption here in Papua New Guinea reflects what our ancestors committed back in Samaria. This is nothing new. Thirdly, judicial corruption. The judges were corrupt. Amos chapter 5, verse 7. The judges, they received bribes and they perverted justice. Amos 5, 7. Micah 3, 1 to 3. And Micah chapter 3, verse 9 and 11. Fourthly, corrupt clergy. So their prophets and spiritual guides, they use their spiritual gifts for monetary gain. Like anyone seeking assistance from them would have to bring a gift or money. It's only then would these prophets and spiritual guides prophesy over them. So no money, you don't get a word from a prophet or a spiritual guide. That's Hosea chapter 9, verse 7 to 9, and Micah chapter 3, verse 5 to 7. So what is happening here again in the religious front, because there are people, using the word of the Most High for money. What is happening is a reflection of what had happened in the past in Samaria. This is nothing new. Fifth sin, dishonest business transactions. Amos chapter 8, verse 5 to 6, and Hosea 12, verse 7 to 8. So they falsified scales. For example, a coffee buyer would manipulate the scale in a way that a 60 kg coffee bag would weigh 40 kg. And they also sold overdue foodstuff for high prices. 6, there was very high crime rate. So there was law and order issue all throughout the nation of Israel, the northern kingdom of Israel. They committed violent crimes of robbery and murder. That's Hosea chapter 4, verse 2. Amos chapter 3, verse 10, and Micah chapter 2, verse 2. So what is happening here again with the law and order issue in Papua New Guinea is a reflection of what had happened in the past, because we as a nation have not yet repented of the sins of our ancestors. 7th, the poor and the less privileged were oppressed and discriminated against by the wealthy and the rich. So in that, a kind of a class system was developed in which the less privileged were enslaved by the upper class. And you can read about that in Amos chapter 2, verse 6 to 7, Amos 5, 11, Amos 8, 4 to 6. For example, especially in shops outside of Port Moresby, in Ley and in Kundiawa, you'll have those security guards standing at the entrance and exit of the shops, and they would begin to search Papua New Guineans. But when they see people appearing to be big shots, they would let them pass through without being searched. Or when they see Caucasians exiting the shops, they would leave them and pass through without being searched. But it is only people from the village or people who do not appear to be wealthy and rich, they would be subjected to unnecessary search. So this is kind of discrimination that the Most High abhorred. He did not want a sort of a class system amongst his children, because all of us are the children of his servant Jacob, and we are all equal in his eyes. So this is one of the things that the Most High spoke repeatedly against. It was one of the things that really broke his heart, to see his people being enslaved by his people, the wealthy and the rich that he had blessed. They took advantage of their wealth, and they started to discriminate and enslave the people who were less privileged. His people who are less privileged. The eighth sin is that of orgies. There were widespread orgies and drunken revelries. So we will call it in the Papua New Guinea nightclubs or dance parties. That's Hosea chapter 4 verse 11 and Hosea chapter 6 verse 4 to 6. So this is nothing new. It's just a reflection. It's just a repetition of what our ancestors did in Samaria. And finally, the divorce rate was very high. Micah chapter 2 verse 11. So when men began to go apart with harlots, in Hosea chapter 4 verse 13 to 14, they obviously had to leave their wives. They had to chase their wives out of their homes. So the divorce rate was very, very high. So after King Jeroboam, his royal decrees of erasing the knowledge of the Most High from the northern kingdom of Israel brought great moral decay on the society, and also brought corruption on the judiciary and the bureaucracy. So what is happening today, the level of corruption and all these law and order issues, they're just a reflection, they're just a repetition of what our ancestors committed in Samaria after they began to turn their backs away from the Most High. So we as a people, as Israelites, have not yet repented of the sins of our ancestors, and therefore their sins seem to pass on to us. It is a generational curse that is being passed on to us. So for us to truly clear up the society, to raise this nation up again, we have to retrace our ancestors' footsteps. We have to know who we are as a people, and we have to know what they have committed and the curses that they have brought upon us. It is only then will we be able to rectify the situation that we are in currently. Thank you.